Hi, everyone. Welcome. We'll get started in just a moment. Just letting a nice big crowd of folks in from the waiting room. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope 2025 is off to a good start. So glad to see everyone.
Yeah, it's great to see all these people here.
Have to I'll send out good vibes to the women's hockey team who starts off the bean pot tonight. Everyone said good, send good Husky energy out.
It's a big night for Boston college sports, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I have 12:02, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Gina Reganini, and I'm Director of Educational Initiatives in Alumni Relations. And I want to thank you all for joining us for NU Library for Alumni. We're thrilled to bring you a refresher and some updates on library resources available to you as alums. Sharing this information with us today is Associate Dean Evan Simpson, who I'll intro shortly, and we're grateful for his time and partnership to make today's event happen. Before we begin, a little about this session. We'll have some time towards the end for questions, so please feel free to use the chat to enter questions as they come to mind, and I will moderate those with Evan during the Q&A. Finally, this session is being recorded and will be shared with all registrants in the next few business days. And now to our speaker. Evan Simpson is the Associate Dean for Research and Learning at Northeastern University Libraries. In this role, Evan provides strategic leadership to foster research excellence and enhance learning experiences across the Northeastern community, including alumni, as you'll hear about shortly. He has been at Northeastern for 9 years and previously held roles at Tufts University and Brandeis University. Evan, thank you again for being with us today. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Gina. It's been great working with you. Gina and I are even more excited to get to know everyone on this call here today. We're excited that you agreed to join us. We've got some great information for you. And if you leave here with anything today, we want you to leave here knowing the library is thinking about you as alumni and working every day to make your experience with your library at Northeastern a good one. I've got a bunch of slides for us that I hope are informative. And again, as Gina said, there'll be some time for questions and answers afterwards. And we hope this is the start of an ongoing relationship with you. So please, you'll see some contact information for both of us at the end. We encourage you to get in touch with questions, comments, observations, or as my wife, who is a school teacher, says, complaints even too. We're happy to take those. So let me get into it. Resources for alumni. So a little bit about the library and sort of setting the tone for today. Talk about your library, past, present, and future. Excuse me. We're going to talk about a reading life, right? So ways that you can engage with books that we have made available to you using a really interesting app called Overdrive, and usually platform called Overdrive and a great app called Libby. We'll talk about some of the research resources available to you as alumni, and those are split up into a couple of different categories: business and entrepreneurship, STEM, art, social sciences, and humanities. I'll review some of the resources you have available to you as alums in those areas. We'll talk a little bit about navigating public libraries. This is something that we frequently work with alumni on because alumni are spread out across the country, across the globe. And so we frequently find ourselves in the situation of helping you know what's available locally to you through a public library. As I said before, you'll have some helpful resources, including information on your accounts and, of course, contact information for Gina and for myself. So getting into it here, your library. Present and future. So Northeastern, as you all know, has been around for quite some time. It was incorporated in the early 1900s, and here we stand today. The library serves a global network of over 12 campus sites, so spread out across Boston, North America, Canada, and one in London. So we have really become a digital library for the vast majority of those users. They do not have physical libraries that they can walk into. And so we have put a lot of time, energy, and resources into building a digital library. This means easy, efficient access via search, lots of full text content right at the fingertips for faculty and students, and a lot of services and tools that are able to be wielded online. So we really have become a digital library for a global university. And that's not to say that we still have some really core library things here on the Boston campus, which we do, and I'll review some of those. But some of that is about immersion, so inclusive learning spaces, right? In the library here in Boston and in our library in Oakland, California at Mills College, learning spaces that really catalyze research, right? That help students focus and help them create new knowledge. Access is really important. Basic access to information, to services, to programming like workshops that boost student success, that help faculty do great research and uplift our surrounding communities. So we really pride ourselves, again, on efficient access to information. Most of that is available digitally, but we do have some physical resources still here in the library. Some of our signature programs, and this is just a smattering of things we do and populations we serve. We have a first-year experience program dedicated to first-year students at Northeastern and making sure they know what's in the library and how they can be successful using the library. We have a great entrepreneurship program team. We have a great STEM team. We serve the arts, social sciences, and humanities. We have a wonderful archives and special collections group with incredible resources, and we teach a lot with those resources, our Teaching with Archives program. We do a lot in digital scholarship, so innovative teaching, interesting tools that faculty and students use. We have a digital repository service, which is a place where faculty and students can store things that they've created. We do a lot of work these days with scholarly communications and research data services, so helping faculty understand where to publish and students where to publish, what their opportunities for managing their publications are. We do a lot of work with accessibility. Again, a global university, we've got learners in so many different places with so many different skill sets. It's really important that we make sure our resources are accessible and easy to use. And of course, we do a lot of online learning for that global network. So again, students that might not be right in our face or right here to ask a question, we do a lot of outreach to those students through their campuses and make sure that we have a lot of online learning opportunities available to them. To deliver resources, we have an interlibrary loan program that delivers articles and books to students across the network, and so many more signature initiatives. Just to give you a sense of where your library has evolved till today. So let's talk a little bit about alumni and what you all have access to. Something that we've really focused on, especially in the last few years since COVID, was really living a life of reading. We know that our students, our faculty, our alums aren't just interested in scholarly resources, but are interested in actually reading fiction books, other popular works. And so we have done a lot of work to advocate for the funding and the continued funding to sustain a license or a subscription with something called Overdrive. Again, what we've noticed, books are really popular. We are making some significant investments here, and Overdrive is the platform we decided was the best one to offer you. Overdrive is mostly used in public libraries, and so we're a different kind of academic library that's really decided on this direction. Overdrive features ebooks and audiobooks. It's available anywhere you are in the world. You can find them using some great search options, and we have some really cool collections of books inside Overdrive for you to be able to access. In terms of finding those books and actually using them, you can download them and read them on any device using an app called Libby. And we'll talk a little bit more about Libby in a second. This is just a quick view of a screen that you'll see in Overdrive. And if you look at the collections area right here, you'll see a number of collections that we've built in here: biography and memoir reads, sci-fi and fantasy, just for a couple of examples. On the audiobook side here, romance listing, crime and mystery, etc. So these are all really, really nice headings that will lead you to tons of titles in these areas. So this is just one way to sort of figure out what's inside Overdrive that you might be interested in. It's just pulling down that collections tab right there. There's another way, though, is you can do a search. And so here's just a sample search for energy. And when I start typing E-N-E in there, you can tell the system knows I'm probably going to be searching for energy. And when I complete that word, it gives me all these great suggestions. There's so many different books in Overdrive. There's so many different ways to find them. I encourage you, again, to browse those collections or just do a search. Think of a word that might represent the thing you're interested in. Throw that in there and see what Overdrive has. You will get a list of books in ebook format and also audiobooks that you can download. You'll find Overdrive linked off the alumni resources page for the website, and I'll show that to you in just a second. So Libby is the app that you'll use on your devices to actually read those books in Overdrive. You can read across devices. You can listen in your car. You can read offline too, so you don't need to be connected to the internet. And for those of you who like to read on a Kindle, Overdrive and Kindle relationship is really tight. So easy to get things that you find in Overdrive over to your Kindle if that's the way you want to read. So keep in mind, to use Overdrive, you'll need to first download the Libby app, and there's some tips and tricks for navigating that experience. It's pretty easy to do. You'll sort of affiliate yourself with Northeastern, and off you go. Okay, you're going to go to the App Store first. It's available on Google Play or on the App Store from Apple. It will ask you if you have a library card. As I said, you'll sort of search for Northeastern University. You'll sign in with that card, log in with your username and password, and off you go. Off you go. For those of you who have questions about usernames and passwords, we have a helpful screen at the end that will lead you to some information on what to do next if you don't know what your username and password is. Okay. So research resources. Keep in mind Overdrive for popular fiction, audiobooks, things like that. But we also have a number of databases that have scholarly information in them that are available to you. We provide access to hundreds and hundreds of databases. These are usually collections of journal articles, books, all right, specific to a particular discipline, but there are also databases that cross disciplines. We take a lot of pride in our library. Whenever we negotiate for a new resource, we are always asking about alumni access. So we are always asking whether or not, always asking whether or not the publisher will allow alumni access. And when they say no, we negotiate and we tell them that's not acceptable. We need to have alumni be able to access this resource. And we've been successful in a number of cases. Not all databases are accessible to alumni, I'm sorry to say, but we do have a good amount that are, and I'll go through what some of those are in tied to different subject areas. So business information resources. This has been one of our more successful areas where we've been able to negotiate on your behalf. There are 3 incredible business resources available to you: BCC Research, Mergent Intellect, and Sloan Management Review. All of these are linked. So when you get the PowerPoint and you want to access one of these, again, if your account is set up right, you'll be able to get right in and authenticate and get access to that resource. I will tell you, BCC Research in particular is an incredibly popular resource with students and with faculty. It's an amazing resource that gives you great market research reports and forecasts on trends in the market tied to specific products or other trends that you're interested in thinking about. So really some really great business information resources, and we hope to expand the number of sources available to you in this area. Science, technology, engineering, and math. One of Northeastern's specialties is, of course, this area of scholarship and teaching. And we have a number of resources available to you in this area. Biosic, over 20,000 genome databases, other ways to discover scientific literature, the Microbiology Society journals, the American Chemical Society publications. So one of the most worldwide, famous and known worldwide for
Hi, everyone. It's Gina. I think Evan may have frozen, so we'll give his computer a moment to catch up. Bear with us.
collect.
All right, it's Gina again. Looks like we lost Evan. I've been having internet issues all morning, so I'm wondering if Evan is having the same. Let's give him a moment to rejoin us. Thanks for your patience and apologies for the trouble. There's Evan.
Can you hear me now?
We can. There you
All
are.
right. So sorry about that, everyone. Welcome to the internet, right? I will share my screen again here. And I think what we were doing was talking about some of the research resources available to you as alums. I was talking about the ACLS Humanities eBooks collection and the Project Muse ebook collection, a fantastic collection of journals and books spanning a bunch of different interesting disciplines and subjects in the humanities. So really, These are three areas we're very proud to bring you these resources in. But there's even more. There's even more. So interdisciplinary resources and law resources. Two to highlight here: annual reviews, and you can see that in the description there, covers 37 subjects, all in the sciences, but really crosses into the social sciences as well. So an amazing resource there. And Westlaw Campus Research. For anyone who's ever worked with a law firm, for a law firm, or doing any legal research, you will know Westlaw is one of the leading sources for legal information out there. We bring that to you as alumni. You have full access to Westlaw Campus Research. But there's even more. Newspapers. We all love newspapers, and we have seen voracious appetite for newspapers, especially on behalf of our students. They love newspapers. They cannot get enough of newspapers. They like to read the newspapers. They like to do research with the newspapers. And so we have a huge and growing collection of newspapers that are available to our students and faculty. Some of those we've been able to negotiate contracts that allow alumni access as well. And so the Congressional Quarterly, sometimes not thought of as a newspaper, but really an important publication in the United States, talks about voting and elections, has all sorts of interesting collections for researchers therein. Three more that we have access to as alumni: Foreign Policy, the Mideast Wire, and the Nikkei Asia. All major newspapers available worldwide, accessible worldwide, read worldwide by lots of audiences. We bring those to you as they are accessible to alumni. Archives and Special Collections. I can't leave without highlighting Archives and Special Collections. We have two wonderful Archives and Special Collections departments, one on the West Coast at Mills College and one here in Boston. The one here in Boston, I'll talk a little bit more about. I think that's probably more where our community here on this call is oriented towards. So those collections are really really great collections from local community organizations. Melnia Cass, the Metro Program, Big Dig, the Boston Phoenix. We have amazing renovated spaces on the lower level of the library that help us do more teaching with those collections and engage with researchers more. And of course, space for community members to view materials and work with us. This is also a place you can come and visit if you're interested in looking at anything we have in Archives and Special Collections. So find out more at the link there. Again, you'll get this PowerPoint, you'll have that link. Get in touch, make an appointment, bring a friend. We've got all sorts of interesting stuff to show you and lots of great stories about how faculty and students are utilizing those collections in Archives and Special Collections. If there are questions about what we have out on the West Coast, I'm happy to answer those via chat, or we can set up another time to talk about that. Navigating public libraries. So just some quick tips and tricks here. This is often a place we turn to when an alum who's not in Boston or maybe not near one of our global campus sites has a question about accessing information. What we frequently find is that a local public library usually has the service or has an answer for them. Local public libraries often have quiet spaces. They often have programming or workshops for skills. They've got books and everything else. They often have interlibrary loan programs. So even if they don't have the book that you need or the article that you need, they have an interlibrary loan service that you can use to get a hold of that thing. They often provide access to statewide databases, journals, Overdrive, right? Language resources, and newspapers. And of course, they often provide, or almost always provide, some form of reference or research help. So a couple of examples. In Massachusetts and Boston, Boston Public Library e-cards are available to anyone who lives in Massachusetts. And that e-card will give you access to hundreds of databases that the Boston Public Library subscribes to. Some of the same databases that I just showed you, but just accessed through the Boston Public Library. So if you can imagine this program at different states, wherever state you're in, you may very well have a statewide e-card that you can get through your local public library that will give you access to a huge range of information resources. If you're looking for a library that has a book and you know it might not be at Northeastern, WorldCat is a fantastic option for you. You can use WorldCat to find books. It will show you which libraries worldwide hold those books and present you with local options for finding it, whether it's a link to that library or an actual call number for where that library has that book on a shelf. So really fantastic resource. And again, I'll emphasize, you'll have this deck provided to you afterwards, so you'll be able to hit all these links very easily when you have that. So some helpful links: library homepage. We have a page on information for alumni. The resources that I highlighted today, we have a full list of all those resources on that link there. We have a wonderful Ask a Librarian service. We encourage you to get in touch with us and ask a question, whether it's about your research or anything else having to do with Northeastern. We'll point you in the right direction. And alumni accounts, also a great webpage here from the alumni office on alumni accounts and what you might need to do to establish or reset your alumni account. And I have a couple little more tips and tricks on that here. First, our contact for Gina and for myself. Encourage you to get in touch, ask questions, comments, observations, complaints. We're here for you. And then lastly, on your account. So if you've graduated after 2013, your login and password for the library remain the same as when you were a student. If you'd like to access the library in person, you will need to go to the Husky Card office and get an alumni Husky Card. Not difficult to do, and it'll get you on campus. Come and see me. We'll have a little tour of the library and hang out for a little bit. There's also a library privileges request form, right? So that you can fill that out. We can update your account, right? So that it's all set to go and that when you come in, you're ready to borrow if you'd like to do that. If you graduated before 2013, you may have established an account with ITS, Information Technology Services, but if you haven't, you can get in touch with them using that phone number or by writing to help@northeastern.edu, and they will work with you to establish your account or reset your account so that you have access to everything you should have access to as an alum. And that brings us to the thank you slide. Where I get to say thank you for listening to me prattle on about all of these amazing resources that you have available to you. I think mostly we want to emphasize that we're here for you. We are advocating for alumni. We are strongly considering and trying to give you really interesting ways to engage with the library and to be part of the library community. And we welcome your ongoing input and collaboration.
Thanks so much, Evan. And just as a colleague of Evan's and as someone in the Alumni Relations Office, I can plus one what Evan has shared. They've been wonderful partners in providing resources and information to alums. So again, thank you, Evan, for your time today. I want to jump into the questions, and friendly reminder to folks on the call, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll go through them this time. The first one we got was from Amit, and they asked, is JSTOR, or perhaps it's pronounced JSTOR, one of the available resources?
I don't believe JSTOR is, but a part of JSTOR is, which is called Project Muse. And you'll be able to find a ton of articles and ebooks via Project Muse. Alumni access to databases does change frequently, which is to say sometimes publishers will get in touch with us and say, yeah, we opened up alumni access. We try to make those changes as quickly as we can so that you know what you have access to. I can certainly take a look and verify where we're at with JSTOR, but I do know that a portion of JSTOR's collections, Project Muse, are in fact available to alumni. Yep.
Super, thank you.
Yeah.
Mark has a question. Is there a hub where all these links/resources are compiled and updated as things change outside of the PowerPoint we'll be receiving?
Yes, absolutely. So on one of those, I think it was the third to last slide, we do have a link, and I can paste it in the chat where resources of all the resources available to alumni. Absolutely.
Sure. And to respond to Swati's question, will these slides with links be shared afterward? That is affirmative. We will get this out to you along with the recording of this session so you can reference afterwards. Stephanie Gomez, Mills alum here. Can you post that email address in the chat, please? Sure will. It is alumni@northeastern.edu, and I will throw that in the chat for you. Kristen Zaprina asked the question, do you have a subscription to newspapers.com?
I do not believe we have a subscription to newspapers.com, so that's something that I will jot down now as something we can work on. And I just posted the link where you can see all of the resources available to alumni, and those are all linked on that webpage. I did just look to an earlier question. JSTOR is not listed there. So I am noting that one in newspapers.com down as two we should look into. I can see where JSTOR is at in our deliberations with them.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I have Couple of additional Mills alums questions. Can you
Yeah.
post instructions to obtain username and password? And Evan, keep me honest here, but for Mills alums, if you email alumni@northeastern.edu, our colleagues in alumni relations will help you get through that process to get you an NUID so you have access.
Yep.
Let's see, sifting through it. There's a lot of gratitude in here as well, Evan. Thanks
Oh,
everyone for your gratitude in the chat as well.
we appreciate you being here. We really appreciate you being here. I see there's an art database resource question, like ArtNet or Art Mutual. I know that we don't have either one of those available to alumni, but if we take a look at the list of books, or excuse me, of resources available, I do think some of them will lead you to some resources that deal with art. Project Muse would actually be a really good place for that. So if you wanted to open up Project Muse, that would be a place where you might find some art-related resources. Also, the very first resource listed in this list, if you go to the webpage, is called the ACLS Humanities eBooks Collection. And that definitely will have some art-related content in it. As far as an art-dedicated database, it doesn't look like we've been able to open up one of those for alumni access, but I'm going to jot that down along with newspapers.com and JSTOR as something that we should look into.
Your to-do list is growing today,
Yeah.
Evan.
That's great though. This is exactly why we do these, is we do want to know where there are gaps, and we will work with those publishers to see what's possible. Absolutely.
Love it. Jonathan has a question. Are we able to get any of the city-based biz journals like Boston Business Journal?
Oh, good question. If it's not on the list yet, we haven't been able to open up access. And so we'll have to take a look at some of those more local publications to see if we can, in fact, open up any for access. It's possible that something like the Boston Business Journal or Business Insider is indexed by another source we have. That would be difficult for me to answer on my feet right now. So I'm gonna do a little bit of research there. And Jonathan, if you want to jot my contact information down, I would love to know sort of what maybe some of your more specific needs are there. And maybe we can have a conversation about that. So it's possible there are indexed in other places, meaning you could figure out what's inside of that journal and what you might want to read. You might not be able to get the full text access of those articles through our subscription, though. I'll take a look at that.
Super. Tony has a question. Is Northeastern connected to any Swiss libraries or universities?
I'm sorry to say no. However, on the first floor of the renovated library, there is a large clock that I believe was given to us by the Swiss government at some time. I know this is not relevant to your query, however, just as a little odd informational tidbit there. I have asked before, how did that clock make its way in here? And the story I've been told is that that clock was given to us either by the Swiss embassy or by some delegation of Swiss peoples who came and visited the library at some point. We do not have a formal relationship with any Swiss libraries. We do participate in international interlibrary loan programs. So it's possible that we have transacted resources with a Swiss library in the past, but we don't have any formal relationship with a Swiss library per se. Yeah.
Super. It's a little fun fact for the day about Northeastern. We've got a couple people plus wanting the JSTOR resource.
Okay.
Sonia has a question. Is NU connected to any of the genealogical sites?
We are not connected to the genealogical sites. Again, similar to working with lots of different libraries, we work with a number of historical societies and associations to share materials. We work with some of those historical associations on collaborative digitization projects, where they may have a collection, we may have a collection of historical documents that need to be digitized. So we do have interaction with local historical societies, some of which specialize in genealogy, but we don't have any formal relationship or program around genealogical research. Genealogical research is something that really public libraries have a really great beat on. And in this region, we obviously have access to one of the greatest public libraries in the world, which is Boston Public Library. And I'm not telling you that you should only go there, but when we think about genealogical research, we often turn to public libraries and historical societies and associations, which tend to have most of those resources. So, and I see there's a question about, is ILL possible for articles? So alumni do not have access to interlibrary loan services at the library here. Those interlibrary loan services are really just for enrolled students. However, you have interlibrary loan services available to you through your local public library. And that local public library will usually honor all sorts of requests for things. So if you're interested in a book that public library does not own, it will find a public library or another library willing to loan it and will let you know when it's available for you to pick up. If it's an article that you requested via interlibrary loan, almost 100% of the time now, those are delivered digitally to your account. So you can usually submit the request remotely and receive that article from the comfort of your home or your car or wherever it is you're receiving that request. So we feel, interlibrary loan, again, something that's really just for students and faculty that are currently enrolled, but you definitely have access to interlibrary loan services at your local public library. Yeah.
Super, thank you. We have a couple more +1s for Boston Business Journal. And Elizabeth has a question. Are subscriptions to platforms with online classes available, and or do the digital resources include recorded workshops or classes?
We don't have resources that include like recorded lectures or classes per se. We do have some oral history based resources like History Makers, which would be a great example where you can find recorded material of interviews between askers and their subjects. History Makers is really geared around African American leadership. So that's a database you would go to view interviews specifically of those types of leaders. And I'm sorry, I'm departing a little bit from the question. We don't have resources that have like recorded classes or workshops. But again, what I want to say is we do have resources that have multimedia in them. So not just text information or data, but actual visual information in the form of oral histories and things like that. Yeah.
Great. Kristen has a question. She says, hi, sorry to be late. Looking forward to the recording. I'm an absorbed Mills College alumna. Have you spoken about or will you touch on how NU absorbs other libraries? How do you integrate all the new resources? I will say, Kristen, you might have missed this piece, but if you are interested in getting an NUID number so that you can access the Northeastern libraries, you can email alumni@northeastern.edu. I'll put that in the chat as well, but Evan wanted to bring this question up because it sounds like we've got quite a good number of Mills folks. If you wanted to speak to that piece of the question.
Yeah, so the library, I'm just speaking from the library's perspective. We were so excited to be able to work with our friends at Mills, and it has been a great relationship. One of the first things we did was make sure that absolutely everything that anyone at Mills had access to, we sustained access to. That was our first priority, meaning any databases, journal subscriptions, books, or etc. that Mills subscribed to, had access to, paid for, that we here in Boston or at Northeast did not, we made sure to find the funds to gain access to those things. That was our first priority. The second was opening up access to all the things Northeastern had that Mills did not have. And that required a huge amount of communication and negotiation with vendors and publishers. These are specific to library business models in higher education, but suffice to say, anytime a library adds a big batch of new users to a resource, that's a renegotiation of our license or contract with that publisher or with that vendor. So we took a very, very purposeful, intentional, and rigorous approach to this. Again, first and foremost, we wanted to make sure that everything people at Mills were used to having access to, that we did not already have access to, we gained access to so that they wouldn't miss a second of that access. And the second was the work of making sure the resources we already subscribed to were able to be opened to Mills, the Mills community. Happy to say both those things have been accomplished. And the Mills community now has access to a huge range of more things. We have made no changes to the Mills print collection. So all of the wonderful resources in the Olin Library remain in the Olin Library, and we are astounded at some of the treasures there. They have a full run of Harper's Bazaar from the very first publication of Harper's to the very most recent publication. So there's a lot we really wanted to keep intact, and there was no reason to make any changes to what was a really rich legacy of library engagement with the Mills community. So we hope that we've added on to that and enhanced it, and of course allowed them and asked them to keep doing their great work on that campus. Yeah.
Fabulous. And Kristen has a great follow-up question saying, assuming this is true of New College of the Humanities, Northeastern London, and Marymount Manhattan.
Yeah, and so the new College of the Humanities, interestingly, the New College of the Humanities never had a physical library. And so a little bit of a different business model, different approach. But similarly to the Mills situation, we've wanted to make sure that anything they did have access to, we sustained access to, and that anything that we already had access to, we ensured they were able to access. And so again, a very rigorous process of making sure basically the entire network has absolutely access to everything everyone else has to make equal access and maximal access possible. So, yeah, Marymount Manhattan does have a small library, and we have already been in touch with them, again, following the same logic. And they've already expressed great excitement about gaining access to a whole host of resources that they've never had at their fingertips before. So I am looking forward to my first visit to Manhattan soon. I hope.
Love it.
Yeah.
We have more gratitude for folks. Any other questions from attendees? These have been really great questions and great comments, really everyone. Thank you. Super. Well, with that, I want to thank Evan for all of the resources that you pulled together and the time that you spent with us today. Thank you again to those who have joined us. No matter where you are, there are more events like this happening for the Northeastern community. I'm going to put the link to our events page in the chat. So that way you'll have easy access to a listing of everything else that's taking place. Again, women's hockey team playing the Beanpot tonight. Very big night in Boston sports. So we're sending out good Husky vibes to the women's ice hockey team. Again, any questions, any follow-up, please do reach out to myself or Evan, and have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks all. Really appreciate it. Take care. Be in touch.